TechNet Saturday at 7 p.m. W5SC. W5FC. When is Skynet?
I don't know.
Does Charlie know?
Always 9 p.m. Saturday on 146.88. Duh.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
What does anybody need to use the repeater before we begin Skynet? This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Tom, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic and encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break very enthusiastically, followed by your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net, so please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me this evening. The stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekend net operates on this frequency with a PL tone of 110 decimal niner. Check-ins via Eclink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Eclink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. Go to the club website, which is www.w5fc.org right now for a complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. Net is approximately 90 minutes long and structured in the following parts. We have general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. I can actually say that again. National Space Society events. Discussion topic of the evening, what's up? Space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passes over the next couple of days, and if we have time, astronomical Q&A in the 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in, so let's go ahead and get started. I will take low power short time check-ins first. If you are one of those, please come with your call sign, your name, give me your QTH, your location, and let me know if you're low power short time. Please come now. we'll move on then. I'll take a general check-in. So this is over air only. We'll get to Echolink in a minute. Please come now with your call sign, phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. General check-in.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill and Irving.
Kilo Fox 5, November X-Ray Romeo, John, Caddo Mills.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob in Farmers Branch.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Echo, India Uniform, David, St. Paul, Texas.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in DeSoto.
November 5, Sierra, Quebec Alpha, Ron, beautiful downtown Dallas.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo India 5, Sierra Zulu Bravo, Max in Royce City.
Kilo Delta 0, Oscar X-Ray Charlie, Carter in Dallas, Lower Greenville.
This is Golf 5, Bravo Zoo Whiskey Junior Weber.
This is
November 5, Golf Hotel Oscar, Lance, Louisville.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Lima, Huey, Richardson.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha. Third rock from the sun, North American continent, United States, Texas, Dallas County, Mesquite.
This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich and Rockwall, AG 5 p.m.
All right, let's go ahead and stop there. Let me read back everybody here who checked in. We've got N5BB, Bill and Irving. KF5NXR, that's John and Cattle Mills. I've got NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. KG5UFR, Jacob, Farmers Branch. KG5EIU, David, St. Paul. WB50ZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto. N5SQA, Ron in Dallas. K5ZBL, Mr. Bill, Farmers Branch. KI5SZB, that's Max in Royce City. KD0OX Carter in Dallas, KF5BZWJ near Weatherford, N5GHO, that's Lance in Louisville, I think over in Echolink. I'll come back to the Echolinks in just a minute. KF5PLL Huey and the news in Richardson, KF5JHA Chaz, somewhere on planet Earth near Mesquite, AG5PM. Rich, you finally got in there in Rockwell. I'll take additional check-ins now. If you'd like to join us, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Got you all on one round? Amazing. All right, I'm going to go to Echolink. If you're on Echolink and you'd like to join us, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name and location. I'll give you extra time if you do not have audio. Just tap in that you're there and I will recognize you. Echolink only. I'll give you extra time. Please come now.
Juliet Delta Whiskey, John in Norman, Oklahoma.
All right, we got actually 3 on that one. Everybody else is checked in via voice, so let's see here. I've got N5IMS, JJ over in Carrollton, K5KTX, Miss Kelly in Quinlan. Kelly, you've got almost an outworldly sound tonight. That's very unusual for you. I'm not sure what's happening, but I do have you checked in. K5JDW, John in Norman. I'll go ahead and open it up again to anyone who would like to check in any mode, would like to join us. Please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett. This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
Okay, we picked up 4 more. I've got KG5 Whiskey Victor Lima, that's James in Carrollton. K5 GLD, Randy in Roulette. W5GUS, Gus in far northeast Dallas. And KG5 APL, that's Patrick in Dallas. I'll do one more round since it was so lively on these first couple. I'll go ahead and any additional check-ins, please come now.
Kilo India 5, Sierra Kilo Romeo, John in Carrollton.
And we picked up one more, KI5 SKR, that's John in Carrollton. Welcome, John. Welcome all. So, excellent check-ins, everyone. Let me go ahead and start with general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please come now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
NT5TM, Tony, go ahead.
You know, it's possible that this net is the best, but it's not the last. We do have one more net tonight, the Afterglow movie discussion at 10:30 p.m., featuring the movie Encounter from 2018, which I have started but may not finish in time for the net, because I like to listen to Skynet. But if you've seen the movie or not, you're equally welcome. It starts at 10:30-ish on this repeater, and everyone should join in the fun. Tomorrow is the 3rd Sunday. Wow, it's amazing. This month has 5 Sundays. Tomorrow is the 3rd Sunday, so we'll have a Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, which is open to everyone, and a Races training net, which is only open to Races appointees for check-ins, but everyone is welcome to listen. The meeting on the air is at 7, and the Races training net is at 8 p.m. That's tomorrow, the 15th. And please don't forget that we'll have a Ham Fixins net on this Monday. This Monday, it's already the 3rd Monday on only the 16th. I'm already getting some material ready that's on this repeater at 7 p.m. on Monday the 16th. A couple of other things to note. We do have a lecture and lab coming up this month on the fourth Saturday, the 28th, but it is a play day in the park. Bring your favorite antenna or your most recently built antenna or just your enthusiasm, and you're welcome to join us. There are more details available at w5fc.org. I really hope you'll participate in our Dallas Amateur Radio Club Radio Play Day in the park this Saturday, May 28th, and more details are available at w5fc.org. So great nets coming up and lots of chances to socialize with your fellow hams, both on the air and in person. NT5TM.
Very good. Thank you, Tony. And does anyone need any fills? Please come with your call. Okay, well, I'll give additional details on the movie this evening, but I have to tell everyone before you start watching the film, which some people cheat and watch the film during this net, it is called Encounter, and the movie date is 2018. There is a second movie that was put out by, Amazon, called Encounter from 2021. They are both science fiction films, and they have a similar plot. The 2018 film is the one you want to watch, so keep that in mind if you are watching, and you're probably going, oh, geez, I'm watching the wrong one. They're available on Peacock and on Pluto Television for free with ads, so keep that in mind. If you're not going to Prime, you won't find it there. I don't think you will. Well, maybe you will, but be careful. There's two. All right, let's continue here. Let's see. We've got Amsat. That is weekly. I have 3 nets available for that, by the way. The first one is Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. There's actually 2 nets. You'll need Echolink installed, and you registered on Echolink. You'll find a net under Groups and Amsat. There's also a live audio link at amsatnet.com, which I was going to put on the video, but it's moving there it is, but it's just kind of slow. There's also, at the same time, Tuesday at 8 p.m. here in Dallas, the Amsat Net East net that's available. Tom, N5HYP, is usually net control, but he has a number of other folks. All are welcome to check in, except for the first Tuesday of the month, which is the DARC Club night. Tom attends that, so there's no Amsat Net East on that date. Following Wednesday is Dallas Amsat Net West, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater. That's at 147.140 megahertz, also with a PL tone of 110.9 with a positive offset. Now, we also have a number of DARC-hosted nets. On Mondays, we got the first week at 7 o'clock, by the way. These are all at 7 o'clock. Ham Fixin's net, where we talk about food, recipes. It's really a fun net. It's from 7 to 8. Second week is MCOM 101, where we talk about emergency communications. If you're interested in that, you're not sure where to turn, that's a good one to join in on and find out about emergency communication. There's a lot of different people, different served agencies. You don't have to be a member of anything, although we appreciate people who are, who can also talk about their respective emergency communication groups they belong to. The third week, third Monday, is Ham Fixin, the second helping. On the fourth week, we have GeekNet. We expand the information beyond amateur radio and get into everything you can imagine. Computers, there's even some trivia and some interesting stuff. It's all geeky. Come to that net fourth week, and then if there's a fifth week, we have a surprise net. If we told you what it is, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation is always encouraged. On Fridays, we have the Search City simulation. That's at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. We have Melissa, KI5GRH. She also has a number of different alternating net controls, but come by. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday, Surge City. All are welcome. And then, of course, on Saturdays, we have starting at 7 p.m. is the TechNet. I don't know why I had a brain block on that. From TechNet from 7 till 8. Of course, Skynet from 9 until 10:30. We also have on Sundays, first and third Sundays, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, where you find out everything there is to know about amateur radio, about the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. I'll get it right, folks. Don't worry. And then after that comes the 7 days a week is the ARRL National Training System Training Net. That's every Saturday night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. You're welcome to check in. That's a training net. And hold on, I didn't put in tonight's Afterglow info, so let me go and pull that up, and I will read it to you. Please stand by. Okay, here we go. Luke and his friends stared at the crashed spaceship. The bumper sticker on the surface sort of told it all. If this ship is rocking, don't come a-docking. How that would play out would be a great mystery. The spaceship sat there like a lump. No unscrewing hatch, no blasters, strange sounds, lightning discharges, glowing lights, echoing weird sounds. It just sat there like a lump. That was until the tentacled creature crawled out of the spacecraft and saluted. Luke tried a high five, although with a tentacled creature which five was somewhat puzzling. The friends decided to take the alien home and shove their new friend into the trunk of their car. Join us for another obscure unknown film, Encounter, from 2018, the 2018 one, tonight at 10:30 p.m. And as I mentioned, you can watch it on Pluto and on Peacock, both free. One with subscription, the other you don't have to have a subscription, so either way you can see it. I watched it on Peacock. For whatever reason, I had trouble with Pluto, and a few other people did too, so you just be warned there may be an issue with that. All right, next up is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, where and when you can look through a telescope. I believe Chaz has stepped up to the plate on that one. So Chaz, KF5JHA, you want to tell us about what's happening at the Texas Astronomical Society, please, from KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening, everyone. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, May the 27th. That's just in a couple of weeks at 7:30 p.m. The meeting will be dual. It'll be in person at the University of Dallas and also held on Zoom. Kevin Koppel and Bill Coppling will be the featured speakers about citizen astronomy and also occultation observations. The TASC Club members will receive an email link to the Zoom meeting in advance of the meeting, although being in person would be so much cooler, wouldn't it? I'm going to be out of town, so I'm going to be in the Zoom meeting. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions have begun again. We were going to have one last Saturday, but it was too windy and cloudy, so that didn't happen. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights so that there was an opportunity for live reports from the TASC public observing sessions, which are held also on Saturday nights. Now, we haven't started all of them, but the Garland one that's held on the first Saturday of each month has started. The other ones hopefully will get started up sometime soon. You can check the TASC website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about the meetings and public observing sessions. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control. Tom, it's all back to you again.
Very good. Thank you, Chaz, and thanks for the update. And it's good to hear that the public observing sessions are back in style. Next up is the National Space Society event. National Space Society with events and activities. That would be Bill, N5BB. Bill, I know you're there. Please tell us about what's up with National Space Society of North Texas, please, from KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. Meetings are held on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The most recent meeting was this previous Sunday, May the 8th, in the afternoon. Our meetings usually start at 3:30 p.m. And because it was Mother's Day, it was mostly virtual and over WebEx. And the presenter was Ken Ruffin, the president of our local chapter right now, talking about NASA plans and general plans for moving out into space. So it was an interesting presentation. Our next meeting will be the second Sunday of June. So that will be Sunday afternoon, June the 12th. If you're interested in National Space Society, you can send me an email at n5bb@arrl.net. That's November 5 Bravo Bravo at arrl.net, or space@byrom.net. SPACE@BYROM.net. Now, we do have some events coming up here in the next couple of months. This is N5BB. The first local National Space Society event will be a week from today, on Saturday, May the 21st. This will be at the Perot Museum of History and Science in downtown Dallas. It's going to be called NASA on the Plaza, and it's going to be involving the James Webb Space Telescope, which is in the kind of toward the final end of its calibration right now. There's been, I think, one image release that was used for calibration. It looked pretty interesting, but they're lining up all the mirrors for the final calibration and phasing right now. That will be the first event a week from today. The second event will be on July the 7th, which is a Thursday, and that event will be, I believe, during the day. I have written down 9 a.m. to noon, but I'm not sure if that's correct. It may be some other time of the day or evening. Anyway, that's going to be another event involved with the James Webb Space Telescope. Again, the first event was a week from today, Saturday, May the 21st, 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the Perot Museum. Second event, also at the Perot Museum, is on Thursday, July the 7th. Not sure of the exact time. The Perot Museum requires volunteers helping with such volunteer presentations to all have a background check done through Sterling Volunteers. So you can't just walk up and be a member of some presentation. You can be a visitor, but you can't be a presenter with a group or something unless you have got the background check. That's all I got for now, Tom. People should send me an email if you have any questions about National Space Society. This is N5. Oh, and by the way, the other huge event coming up here in May is going to be the International Space Development Conference. This is ISDC 2022, the first full in-person version since COVID. And this will occur over the Memorial Day weekend. So it will start, the actual events will start on the 27th of May, Friday, and conclude on Sunday the 29th. So it'll be 27th, 28th, and 29th, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, at the Hyatt Regency Crystal City Hotel, which is at Reagan National Airport there, right outside Washington, D.C. I will be there, along with several other members of the National Space Society from North Texas. So if you have any questions about the International Space Development Conference, you can also contact me inside bb@arrl.net or space@byram.net, and be glad to answer your questions. And of course, you can do a web search for NSS to find the website, nss.org, or look up the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. Our website is not updated that often. We're trying to get that fixed. And we also have a Facebook page. Look for National Space Society, North Texas chapter. Thank you, Inside BB.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Does anyone need any fills or have any questions? Please come now with your call.
N5SQA.
N5SQA. Go ahead, Ron.
The way Bill put it, I don't want to leave anybody with misgivings or misinformation. The Perot Museum event next Saturday from 10 till 2, you don't have to be a member. I'm pretty sure it's going to be outside. It's not going to cost you anything, maybe cost you to park. But no background checks if you're just bringing your family there to check out the information primarily surrounding the James Webb Telescope. Come on down. I'm not sure I'm going to be there, but it should be pretty good. And a question, Tom, going back to which one of these encounters we're supposed to watch. Is it the one where they bring like the big magnetic pine cone into the garage? N5SQA.
That is correct, Ron. It is the pine cone one. The other movie does not have pine cones.
Okay, thank you. And did anybody mention the fact that there's a super blood moon eclipse event tomorrow evening? N5SQA.
Not yet, but I suspect our professional astronomer may be doing that in a little bit. If he does not, we will remind him, and then he'll be forced to tell us about it, which is coming up after the discussion topic of the evening. So I suspect the answer is we will. All right, well, let's go ahead. Discussion topic of the evening. When you are the net control, you get to pick the topic. It could be discussion. It might not. It depends on what it is. This one was one that's kind of a personal one to me because it is the 49th anniversary, not the 50th, the 49th anniversary of the Skylab launch. Skylab Space Station was the American space station that was built and launched in 1973 using hardware from the old Apollo program. For me personally, it was kind of cool. I was in school. I asked my parents many, many times, I want to go and watch the last Saturn V lift off from Cape Kennedy. And so they begrudgingly dragged me out of school, took me down there, and we got to watch a Saturn V launch. Now, let me tell you something about that and what's so cool about it. You are not prepared for a Saturn V launch, and when SLS goes, I think you're going to have the same feeling. This rocket, when it takes off, it's 32 stories tall, 7.5 million pounds of thrust. This thing, when it takes off, it is very loud, even though you're more than 5 miles away. It is extremely loud. It vibrates. It's off of your chest. And as it takes off, it has this brilliant flame coming out of the bottom of it. Now, in the pictures, and like the one I'm showing on the video feed, it looks white or maybe a yellow in color. In fact, it is a very brilliant gold color, like a reflective gold as it takes off. Now, the sad thing about this, and this does fall into the story a little bit, is as it took off, it went into a cloud bank. And the cloud bank itself was very low, and so it was taking off and pretty much over in a matter of seconds, unfortunately. And that was unfortunate because as it went to orbit, some very interesting things were happening that were never filmed. So during Skylab's ascent, there was a thermal micrometeorite shield that was ripped off, which led to a loss of one of the lateral solar power arrays that was to supply electricity to the station, and it prevented full extension of the other array. As it went to orbit, and this is kind of an interesting story to tell, is that it disabled some of the pyrotechnics on the spacecraft. That big ring that you see in the huge interconnecting ring between the first and second stage, you've seen it in movies, same movie of Apollo 5, where it spins around and kind of re-enters the atmosphere. That was disabled by the rain of debris that was coming down from the heat shield. And as the spacecraft went to orbit, that ring never came off. And so the second stage ignited with the ring still attached, and the heat grew almost to unmanageable levels as the 5J2 engines were on the second stage, dragging this thing to orbit with it. So that was quite an interesting thing, but by the time of this mission, they were not doing any sort of real photography of the spacecraft as it went to orbit. It's the last Saturn V. Who cares, right? You're not going to launch another one. Well, it would have been very interesting to see this, and they would have known what had happened. I remember that we got in the car, and we were planning to return the following day. The Skylab 2, which would have been the manned mission, was supposed to take off the very next day. And in fact, pads 39A, in one of the rare cases, had spacecraft on both launch pads. There was a Saturn 1B with a milk stool, they called it, which would have been a two-stage Saturn rocket that would have taken the three astronauts into Earth orbit and then meet with the space station. As it turns out, it would be another 2 weeks before they would actually go, and they had to come up with a way of actually doing a rescue mission to open the solar panel, remaining solar panel, and to figure out a way of cooling down the spacecraft. So back to the story. It was launched in 1973 and was the world's first successful space station, although I don't know, the Russians may have something to say about that. It was the first manned Skylab mission, came 2 years after the Soviet Union launched Salyut 1, the world's first space station, into orbit around the Earth. Skylab was the outcome of the Apollo Applications Program set up by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration in 1965 to adapt spacecraft and systems developed for the U.S. moon landing program to a variety of scientific missions. As a first step toward establishing a long-term manned platform in space, Skylab made use of the Saturn V moon rocket, whose third stage was outfitted with 2 decks as a habitat and ready-to-use orbital workshop, and the command and service modules of an Apollo spacecraft, which ferried the station's crews and small amounts of supplies. Skylab was 99 feet in length and 22 feet in diameter and had a mass of over 165,000 pounds. Although limited by its consumable resources is in the same way as the Soviet Union's first-generation Salyut stations, Skylab was much roomier and capable of more research. Its main scientific instrument, the Apollo telescope mount, incorporated a number of component telescopes and other devices for observing the sun and other broad range of electromagnetic spectrums, from visible light to X-rays. And I did mention the ascent and what had happened. Let's see. The first 3-man crew deployed an improvised parasol sunshade, later fortified with an overlaying sun shield to prevent serious overheating of the station during their 28-day mission, and released the jammed solar array. Skylab hosted 2 additional 3-man crews for missions lasting 59 and 84 days. Each of the 3 Skylab missions has set a new space endurance record. Although plans called for Skylab to be used again, with one of the first space shuttle missions boosting it to a higher orbit, increased solar activity caused its orbit to degrade faster than expected. And on July 11, 1979, it entered the atmosphere and broke up and scattered debris over the southeastern Indian Ocean and western Australia. On the Skylab 2 mission, that was May 25th through June 22nd of 1973, P. Conrad, Joseph P. Kerwin, and Paul White docked their Apollo spacecraft with the orbiting Skylab that had sustained damage during its launch on May 14th. They made repairs to keep Skylab from overheating and to ensure a power supply sufficient to allow them to complete most of their assigned experimental work. Conrad resigned from the Navy and the space program in '74, taking executive positions with the American Television and Communications Corporation of Denver, Colorado, and in 1978 was with McDonnell Douglas Corporation in Long Beach, California. Well, I guess that's an aside, but in any Skylab included, it says Skylab included the Apollo telescope mount, a multispectral solar observatory, a multiple docking adapter, and 2 docking ports, an airlock module, and an EVA hatches, and an orbital workshop with a main habitable space inside Skylab. The electrical power came from the solar arrays and fuel cells in the docked Apollo CSM. The rear of the station included a large waste tank, propellant tanks for maneuvering jets, and a heat radiator. Astronauts conducted numerous experiments aboard Skylab during its operational life. For the final 2 crewed missions to Skylab, NASA assembled a backup Apollo CSM Saturn 1B in case an in-orbit rescue mission was needed, but this vehicle was never flown. The station was damaged during launch when the micrometeorite shield tore away from the workshop, taking one of the main solar arrays with it and jamming the other array. This deprived Skylab of most of its electrical power and removed protection from intense solar heating, threatening to make it unusable. First crew deployed a replacement heat shade and freed the solar panel to save Skylab. This was the first time that a repair of this magnitude was performed in space. The Apollo telescope mount significantly advanced solar science, and observation of the sun was unprecedented. Astronauts took thousands of photographs of the Earth, and Earth Resources Experimental Package, EREP, viewed Earth with sensors that recorded data in the visible, infrared, and microwave spectral regions. The record for human time spent in orbit was extended beyond the 23 days set by Soyuz 11 crew aboard Salyut 1 to 84 days by the Skylab 4 crew. Later plans to reuse Skylab were stymied by delays in the development of the space shuttle, and Skylab's decaying orbit could not be stopped. Skylab's atmospheric re-entry began on July 11th in 1979. I had a Skylab party that day, by the way, amid worldwide media attention. Before re-entry, NASA ground controllers tried to adjust Skylab's orbit to minimize the risk of debris landing in populated areas, targeting the South Indian Ocean, which was partially successful. Debris showered Western Australia, and recovered pieces indicated that the station had disintegrated lower than expected. As the Skylab program grew to a close, NASA's focus had shifted to the development of the Space Shuttle. NASA's space station and laboratory projects included Space Lab, Shuttle Mir, and Space Station Freedom, which was merged into the International Space Station. Now, just to tell you, a few years later, of course, I had moved out of the house, no more mommy and daddy, and I lived in an apartment. And I had the Skylab party. Everybody wore hard hats or wore, aluminum foil hats. Why not? And so that was a fun party. Fun is had by all. So I thought I'd mention that. It was kind of a favorite of mine. If you go to the Frontiers of Flight Museum, you'll find a Saturn V model on display, and it is in the Skylab configuration, so you get to see what it did look like. It's pretty cool, very interesting. There have been a number of books written about Skylab, if you're interested. It was the beginning of the space station era, which is started with Russia, and the United States, with combined international partners, continues to do that to this day. By the way, I don't know, somebody may have the information, the International Space Station is going over today, sometime this evening during this net. However, I didn't write it down as to when, because it would have been during this net. My apologies, everyone.
Inside BB info.
Hey, Bill, tell us when.
You just missed it. It became visible at 9:37 p.m. and was visible for 7 minutes, so it just went invisible. I walked out while you were talking, sorry about that, and I saw it. Max height was 50 degrees. It went from west-southwest to disappeared at 10 degrees above northeast in 5EB.
All right, thank you, Bill. And as an aside, because, you know, we're all nerds in this way, don't forget, too, what was really interesting, too, whenever the International Space Station went over is when the Space Shuttle was visiting. It was pretty darn cool what they did. They were able to, you saw, I think it was Discovery had that recently undocked, and you see these two brilliant stars flying in formation, the International Space Station and Space Shuttle Discovery. That was really cool. I really like that. I think you can still do that with any of the visiting spacecraft, but they aren't going to be quite as bright as the shuttle was. So we have that. Oh, let's see here. I want to welcome Philip, K5KOB. I see him over on Facebook. And I got Max, or I've got KD5IFS. KD5IFS also checked in. Got his name, and I got Max. Well, Max, he's over on Facebook and mentioning that he's there too. I think they're all hams, so they're official. We can invite them in. Does anyone have any comments or questions about my little presentation this evening? Please come now with your call.
Kilo India 5, Sierra Zulu Bravo Max.
W5GUS.
Ah, very good. We'll start with Max. Hang on, Max. KI5SZB. Go ahead, Max.
Hey, thanks, Tom. Right, I was actually in college on August 30th, 1983 at the press site, which is actually 3 miles away from the launch pad 39 Alpha, and I covered STS-8, the first night launch. It was Challenger, and I was next to the Orlando Sentinel science editor, and he handed me the cover page, and he said, of his newspaper, he said, hold on to this with both hands in front of your chest, just before she lifted off. When the pressure wave hit, the newspaper shredded in my hands, and it literally, part of that with the energy, brought me to tears. It was so powerful. Break. And as you know, the STS had 7.8 million pounds of thrust, and the Saturn V had 7.5 million pounds. Eventually, when it does launch SLS, we'll have 8.8 million. So if you can get to the press site, it's still there. You can get in front of the countdown clock like I was on the bleachers. Good luck. Hold the paper up in front of your chest and watch what happens. Kilo India 5, Sierra Zulu Bravo, clear skies. Back to the net.
Excellent. Thank you, Max, and thank you for that account. Being near the press site, or being at the press site, you were a couple of miles closer than me, so you even got it even more powerful, and I think that's amazing. Thanks for that, sharing that. I appreciate it very much. Next is W5GUS. Gus, your comments or question?
Thank you, Tom. W5GUS here. Both nice stories. Wow. That is nice. Max, that would have been a heck of a photograph to get you with that paper tearing like that or disintegrating. My question was, Tom, what was the actual date of liftoff of the Skylab? W5GUS.
That would be today, May 14th, 1973, and it was at 5:20 in the afternoon. It was a very, very warm day. In fact, it was incredibly hot. You had to get there early, and it just was unbearable. Then the clouds rolled in, which cooled it down, but it ruined our view of the lift beyond the liftoff, which would have been pretty spectacular. How's that?
Wonderful. Yeah, I bet that was. I bet that was something. Just to feel it. I was just curious because NASA on the Air there's some of the NASA ham stations might be celebrating the anniversary by being on the air this weekend. I'll have to check that out. Thanks, Tom. Great story too. Both great stories. W5GUS.
Well, thank you, Gus. And, of course, the 50th anniversary will be next year, but, of course, the launch won't be on won't be a Saturday. But we'll cover it again. It's one of my favorites because I was there, and I'm kind of nerdish that way, and I like talking about it. All right, this is KE5ICX, and net control for tonight, Skynet. Let me go ahead, and before we go to the next section, does anybody else want to check in? Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay and Mesquite. Great story.
All right, I think that's Cruz. I'm not sure. KG5KWG, you're very scratchy into the repeater. You want to try one more time or just confirm if it is Cruz? I think that's his call. Go ahead. I think it is because of the voice. I'll check you in as such, and I'll pick up the pieces later. But you were mostly noise, about 80-90% noise. But I got you checked in. At least I heard you a little bit. All right, next up is What's Up, and that would be Chaz, K5JHA. Chaz, it's your turn from KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree's in astrophysics. I'm in charge of the astrophysics labs and geology labs at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus, and we do call this segment of Skynet Was Up. That would be slide number 1. Slide number 2, please. On May the 8th, the moon was at its first quarter phase. So the current phase of the moon is a waxing gibbous. Tomorrow evening, on May the 15th, the moon will be full, and there is a total lunar eclipse, which I'll talk about in detail in just a few minutes. On May the 17th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 360,298 kilometers. On May the 22nd, the moon is at third quarter phase. On May the 30th, the moon will be new. And on June the 1st, the moon is at its apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,192 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 3, please. Okay. We're going to have to put up with 2 rounds of jokes tonight. So there's eclipse jokes right now. But before I present the eclipse jokes, I need to acknowledge my humor consultant, JJ, N5IMS. So if you like the jokes, I'll take full credit, but if you don't like the jokes, you can blame JJ for that. Okay, so why is it difficult to get drunk during a lunar eclipse? Because there's no moonshine. Yeah, I'm at least almost half hillbilly anyway. That makes a lot of joke for me anyway. What is the moon's favorite bagel? Probably cinnamon raisin. Okay, how does the moon take care of his hair? Eclipse it. Oh, come on, that was the setup, wasn't it? What's the most famous painting of an eclipse? The Mona Lisa. Okay, one more in this round. What kind of underwear should you wear during an eclipse? That sounds like a personal thing to me, but you know. Fruit of the moon. Okay, let's move on. Slide number 4, please. So on the night of May 15th, 16th, there will be a total lunar eclipse, of which the entire eclipse will be visible to us here in North Texas. A lunar eclipse occurs when the moon moves into the shadow of the Earth. Most of the time, the moon moves just above or below the Earth's shadow as it orbits. But a couple of times a year, the moon travels into the Earth's shadow. There's a lighter part of the Earth's shadow called the penumbra, and a darker part of the Earth's shadow called the umbra. When the moon moves completely into the umbra, the darker part of the shadow of the Earth, we have what is known as a total lunar eclipse. The eclipse on May the 15th, 16th is a total lunar eclipse. Now, the last total lunar eclipse visible here in Dallas was on May the 26th, 2021, and the next total lunar eclipse will be visible in Dallas later this year on November the 8th, 2022. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. So on the night of May the 15th, 16th, the total lunar eclipse, which is visible all across North America, begins when the moon enters the lighter part of the Earth's shadow called the penumbra at 8:32 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and that's on May the 15th. This part of the eclipse is difficult to notice. At 9:28 p.m. Central Daylight Time, the moon enters the darker part of the Earth's shadow called the umbra. The moon goes completely inside the umbra at 10:29 p.m., which is the beginning of what we call totality. The middle of totality, which is the middle of the eclipse, is at 11:11 p.m. Central Daylight Time, tomorrow night. Totality ends when the moon begins to leave the umbra at 11:54 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and the moon leaves the umbra at 12:55 a.m. Central Daylight Time. That would be on May the 16th. And the eclipse ends at 1:51 a.m. Central Daylight Time on May the 16th when the moon leaves the penumbra part of the Earth's shadow. This will be a great opportunity to try your skills at taking astronomical pictures. If it works, great. If not, you have another opportunity to image another eclipse on November the 8th with another total lunar eclipse. And all you really need is just your two eyes to look at it. A pair of binoculars is going to be great, or a telescope will be able to zoom right in on it. Hope all of you go out there and take a look. Maybe I'll get on this repeater and see if anybody's interested in talking about it while we're watching it. Slide master, slide number 6. On May the 18th, in the early morning eastern sky, the planets Mars and Neptune will only be about a half a degree apart with a very close conjunction. Now, a telescope will be needed to spot the planet Neptune. But if you've never seen the planet Neptune before, then this will be the time to do it. So that's just in a few days from now. So get your telescope polished up for tomorrow night and also for May the 18th. Slide master, slide number 7, please. On May the 22nd, a conjunction involving the moon, which will be about 6 degrees away from Saturn in the early morning sky, should be a great preview for another conjunction just a couple of days later. Slide master, slide number 8. So on May the 24th, a conjunction between the moon, Mars, and Jupiter, which will be all about within 9 degrees of each other. This will be a great thing to take a look at. I love to watch the dance of the planets. All these are in the early morning sky. Slide master, slide number 9, please. The moon and Venus will be in conjunction on May the 27th, being just a few degrees apart in the eastern morning sky. Jupiter and Mars are about 25 degrees to the upper right of the moon and Venus. Talk about that right now. Slide number 10, please. On May the 29th, that'll be a wonderful conjunction of Jupiter and Mars, which again will only be about a half a degree apart in the sky. So early morning eastern sky. Take a look for them. Wow, get your telescopes out. Binoculars. Slide number 11, please. Also on May the 29th, around 6 a.m., look toward the very low eastern morning sky during strong twilight to see the moon being about 5 degrees to the right of the Pleiades. That's a star cluster. We've talked about that before. And the planet Mercury is about 2 degrees just to the lower right of the moon, too. Should be cool to find. You might need your binoculars to see this. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 12, please. Once again, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, May the 27th, 7:30 p.m. The meeting's going to be in person, but also held on Zoom. Kevin Cobble and Bill Coupling will be the featured speakers to talk about citizen astronomy and recent occultation observations. Now, if you want to get detailed information about that and also the public observing sessions that have started, go to their website, texasastro.org, for updated information about this. Slide master, slide number 13, please. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or maybe need a fill on some information? Maybe you just have a general astronomy question. I don't know everything, but I may know the answer to your question, or maybe someone else here might know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question. Okay, I wish all of you the best on watching the eclipse tomorrow. So as the moon waned at the end of April, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live, and pray for the people of Ukraine. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JHA, back to our net control, Tom. KE5ICX, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chaz. Thanks for the report, and we got to get out there. The next few days are going to be really interesting. So warm up, put new batteries in your telescope, and be ready for some action. Okay, next up is space exploration and space history. That would be Miss Brenda, WB50ZL, for this evening. So, Miss Brenda, hopefully your voice is going to hold out. What do you got for us from KE5ICX?
Thank you. This is WB50ZL, and tonight in the news, unless you've been off planet, you know there's a new picture, well, an image of a black hole. It's it's an image of Sagittarius A star. It's A with an asterisk, and it's pronounced A star. So May 12th, 2022, the Event Horizon Telescope revealed an image of Sagittarius A star, a black hole in the center of the Milky Way. The black hole is located 27,000 light years away from Earth. It is thousands times smaller than M87 star. And they say we have two completely different types of galaxies and two very different black hole masses. And comparing that to the one they published a couple of years ago, the M87 star. But close to the edge of these black holes, they look amazingly similar. This tells us that general relativity governs these objects up close, and any differences we see further away must be due to differences in the material that surrounds the black holes. Next, there is a new James Webb postage stamp. If you collect stamps, this is a really pretty one. Artist James Vaughn of Kent created a digital depiction of the orbiting telescope against a starscape, combined with a photograph of a star and distant space that was taken by Webb to confirm the perfect alignment of its 18 mirror segments, according to a news release from the USPS. And remember all that dirt they brought back from the moon? Well, they're actually using some of it to grow plants. Moon dirt is called regolith. Scientists at the University of Florida are growing plants in regolith to grow this, it's Arabidopsis. It's mustard greens, basically. The team used samples collected on the Apollo 11, 12, and 17 missions, with only a gram of regolith allowed for each plant. The team added water and then seeds to the samples. Then they put the trays into terrarium boxes in a clean room. A nutrient solution was added daily. After 2 days, they started to sprout. Every plant, whether in a lunar sample or in a control, looked the same up until about day 6. After day 6, however, it was clear that the plants were not as robust as the control group plants growing in volcanic ash, and the plants were growing differently depending on which type of sample they were in. The plants grew more slowly and had stunted roots. Additionally, some had stunted leaves and sported reddish pigmentation. After 20 days, just before the plants started to flower, the team harvested the plants, ground them up so they could study their RNA. The InSight lander's future is in question. It may be in a lot of trouble. NASA has detected the largest Mars quake yet, a tremor of nearly 16 times stronger than the previous record holder. It shook the space agency's InSight lander on May 4th. That would be a medium-sized earthquake, but it's a big one for Mars and the largest ever detected on another planet. So InSight landed on the seismometer in tow in 2018. Since deploying, the quake measuring instrument has detected more than 1,300 tremblers. Most of them were small rumbles. For 3 years, scientists were waiting to catch a big one. Until now, the most powerful Mars quake they detected was a 4.2 magnitude in September. The May 4th quake has an estimated magnitude of 5, which would make it 6 times bigger than the September quake, releasing 15.8 times more energy. But InSight's big quake victory is clouded by a power crisis. The the lander's home in an open plain turned out to be less windy than scientists expected, which allowed a thick accumulation of dust to build up on its solar panels. NASA approved funding for InSight's mission through December 2022, but the agency said in a statement on Tuesday that the lander is unlikely to continue operations through that time period unless a surprise wind clears the dust away. Dust is a persistent threat to all Mars robots. Last week, in a crater to the west, the red-brown powder plunged the iconic Ingenuity helicopter into a communications blackout for the first time. NASA reestablished a connection with the drone later that day once the sun had risen and recharged Ingenuity's batteries. But the incident has put the helicopter in a power-preserving mode similar to InSight's, shutting down non-vital functions in order to build up a battery charge. If InSight doesn't survive the year, it would join the ranks of another high-tech Mars robot that cost NASA hundreds of millions of dollars and succumbed to dust. The agency's Opportunity rover never powered back up again after the dust storm drained its energy in 2018. That was so sad. But thankfully, Perseverance is powered by plutonium. Birthdays. Charles Camarda, May 8th, 1952, STS-114. Vance D. Brand, May 9th, 1931, Apollo-Soyuz Test Project, STS-5, 41B and 35. Ellen Ochoa, May 10th, 1958, STS-56, 66, 96, and 110. Lisa Nowak, May 10th, 1963, STS-121. Gregory H. Johnson, May 12th, 1962, STS-123 and 134. Jessica Watkins, May 14th, 1988, SpaceX Crew 4, Expedition 6768. William G. Kennedy, May 14th, 1957, STS-67. James M. Kelly, May 14th, 1964, STS-102 and 114. And Donald R. McMonigal, May 14th, 1952, STS-39, 54, and 66. All right, I have a couple things from space history. On May 10th, 2021, the American probe OSIRIS-REx, it left the asteroid Bennu to begin the long return journey with its precious and copious load of asteroidal material. It will arrive on September 23rd, 2023. Bennu is thought to be a rubble pile asteroid, meaning small fragments from the original large asteroid came together to form Bennu. The small pieces of Bennu stay together because of gravity and another force scientists call cohesion, which makes soils and sands stick together. But based on existing measurements, Bennu is about 20 to 40% empty space inside. If Bennu were placed gently on the surface of Earth, our planet's gravity would cause the whole structure to fall apart. And finally, on May 9th, 1969, the HL-10 lifting body completed its first supersonic flight. The HL-10 was one of 5 lifting body designs flown at NASA between 1966 and 75 and helped develop landing techniques later used with the Space Shuttle orbiters. So I have, back to net, WB5OZL.
Thank you, Brenda. All very interesting stuff. Thanks for that report. This is KE5ICX Net Control for tonight's Skynet. Next up is Miss Caroline's Constellation of the Week, and that is expertly handled by Chaz, KF5JJ. Run back to the radio, Chaz. You're up again from KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. I didn't have to run to the radio. I was right here beside it. Miss Caroline's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Caroline, KC5OZT. Caroline contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Carolyn covers the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. In her honor, we have continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellations of the week this week are Ursa Major, the Big Bear, and Ursa Minor, the Little Bear. Now, the Big Bear is easy to find almost directly overhead. We'll go out there and take a look right now. If you have been wondering why we've had so much rain, well, it's because the Big Dipper is upside down and all the water's falling out on top of it. Didn't you get rain last night? I did. Wouldn't I make a great meteorologist with this kind of idea? The Big Dipper is just a part of the Big Bear. And right now, the bear is upside down in the sky. All right, Slide Master, slide number 16, please. The second round of jokes for the week. Oh, yeah, this is the normal spot where they are. What do you call a bear with no... what do you call bears with no ears? Just B. Because if you take the E-A-R-S away from bears, you just have the letter B. If I have to explain them, they're no good, I know. What color socks do bears wear? Well, they don't wear socks. They have bare feet. Why didn't the teddy bear eat his lunch? Because he was stuffed. What kind of car do bears drive? Ferraris. Why do grizzlies never look sad? Because whenever there's a problem, they just grin and bear it. What do you call a bear with no money? Broke. And finally, what do you call a bear with no teeth? Some of you out there probably got the answer to this one. A bear with no teeth is called a gummy bear. Yes. Slide Master, slide number 17, please. The name Ursa Major is Latin for Great Bear or the Big Bear. Ursa Major is better known for its famous asterism, Dipper. Mizar and Alcor are famous optical double star. We say that they're optical double because we do not know if they're really orbiting around each other, which would make them a true binary system. Even if they're not a true binary system, they're associated with each other because they share the same proper motion, as they are both members of the Ursa Major Stellar Association. The name Mizar is in ambiguous origins, could possibly be a corruption of Marak, which is the name for Beta Ursa Majoris, the bottom star at the end of the Dipper's bowl, one of the two pointer stars that point to Polaris. Marak and Doobie are the two that point to the North Star. The name Alcor is a corruption of the Arabic phrase that means rider because it appears to be riding on Mizar. A number of different cultures of the past refer to Mizar and Alcor as a horse and a rider. Ancient Arabs also used Mizar and Alcor as a test of visual acuity. If someone could see both stars, they were considered to have good eyesight. It just so happens that Mizar and Alcor was featured in a binoculars highlight in the June 2020 issue of Sky and Telescope, just a couple of years ago. This article states that Mizar and Alcor are not simply stars, but are two stellar systems. Alcor is actually a double star. Mizar is at least a quadruple star system. The brightest companion of Mizar is easily visible in small telescopes and in large tripod-mounted binoculars. It is about 14 arc-second separation from Mizar, and I've seen that companion too, many a times from right on the campus of Brookhaven. Slide Master, slide number 18. M81 is a beautiful spiral galaxy. It is a nearby bright companion, M82, which can be seen in 50mm binoculars. M81 and 82 appear as just faint fuzzballs in a handheld binoculars, but they are at least visible, making them both candidates for the Binocular Messier Club. M81 shows much better in a telescope, as you would expect. It shows as a fuzzy oval shape with a much brighter center, which is the galaxy's nucleus. The area of the spiral arms is dimmer than the nucleus, but an 8 to 10 inch telescope, but you cannot quite make out the spiral arms. I've seen the spiral arms in an actually 16-inch telescope. M82 is an unusual galaxy, which is near M81. Some telescopes are in the same field of view. The two galaxies are associated with each other and are, in fact, the brightest members of what's known as the M81 Galaxy group, which is the second closer galaxy cluster to our own. Only the Sculptor group is closer. M82 is an unusual galaxy, which earned it a place in the Halton Arp's catalog of peculiar galaxies. It is unusually enough that Arp lumped it in a small handful of other galaxies into miscellaneous category in his catalog, a class of galaxies he's dubbed as unique. In a small telescope, it's easy to differentiate between M82 and M81 because M82's edge-on appearance. This edge-on appearance causes M82 to be nicknamed the Cigar Galaxy. Both M81 and 82 are also known as Bode's Nebula because they were discovered by Joanna Bode in 1774. Slide Master, slide number 19, please. M97 is also known as the Owl Nebula. It's a planetary nebula discovered by Michon in 1781 and added by Messier to his catalog that same year. It was given the name Owl Nebula by Lord Grossi in 1848 after viewing it through a 72-inch reflector. I don't think that's a portable telescope. It is very small and dim in smaller telescopes, but it's definitely noticeable and is a non-stellar in nature, even in smaller telescopes, unlike a lot of planetary nebulas, which look stellar. M97 and M108 are so close together that they both are visible in the same low-powered field of view in some telescopes. Medium to large telescopes are needed to see the owl's eyes. There are other Messier objects in Ursa Major, which include M40, M109, M101, M108. It is worth your while to look up these objects and try to find them in the sky. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 20, please. Ursa Minor is the Latin for little bear. It's also well-known asterism for the Little Dipper. The four stars forming the bowl of the Little Dipper are interesting in that they are all second, third, fourth, and fifth magnitudes, providing an easy guide to determining what magnitude stars are visible on a given night. Polaris, also known as Alpha Ursa Minoris, and it's a part of something called the engagement ring asterism. Polaris is known as the North Star, or the Pole Star. It is not the brightest star in the sky. In fact, it's the 49th brightest star in the sky, and earlier times it was called Stella Polaris, but the name fell out of common usage a long time ago. Polaris is one of the most famous stars in the sky because of its location near the North Celestial Pole. The star is not located precisely at the true pole, but, however, it's a little bit less than 1 degree in distance. During the next century, this distance will diminish, and the star will close to the North Celestial Pole in the year 2102 AD. At that time, it will be 27.5 arc minutes from the pole, about half a degree away. Polaris is the second magnitude yellow-white star of spectral class F7. It is 430 light years from our solar system. It's also an easy double star in small telescope. Polaris is actually a triple star system, and the Hubble Space Telescope has successfully imaged the the faint third member of the system. Polaris is part of a nice asterism called the diamond ring, or the engagement ring, which is easily visible in binoculars or finder scope. Kochab, which is also known as Beta Ursa Minoris. Kochab is derived from the Arabic term which means the star of the north, named name derives from the fact that about 3,000 years ago, Kochab was the closest bright star to the north rotational pole. Kochab is the second magnitude orange star, spectral K43 in its spectral classification. It's believed to be about 100 light years away. It appears to be yellow-white in a telescope. Slidemaster, slide number 21, NGC, which stands for New General Catalog. 6217 is a magnitude 11.2 galaxy located near the bowl of the Little Dipper. It is a barred spiral galaxy. Walter Scott Houston noted that it should be visible in any telescope 8 inches or larger, but on good nights he's been able to see it even with this 4-inch telescope, but he has better eyes than anybody else ever had on the planet. Being so close to the pole, it is visible throughout the year, and Houston notes that it provides a good test of the sky transparency. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slidemaster, slide number 22. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Ursa Major, the Big Bear, and Ursa Minor, the Little Bear. I've just given you a sampling of a few of them. The Astronomical League has about 73 different observing programs. Most of them have about 100 objects. But if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year from the Astronomical League. Slide number 23, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellations of the Week. Ursa Major and the Big Bear, and Ursa Minor, the Little Bear. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every night, like I do tonight, too. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Next time, I'll take a look at two more constellations, Coma Bernices, Bernice's Hare, and Canis Venatici, the hunting dogs. And this is KF5, JHA, Backdoor Net Control Tom, KE5, ICX, it's all yours. Good night, everyone, 73.
Very good. Thank you, Chaz. Most appreciated. Very interesting. As always, this is KE5ICX. We're running out of time, so I'm just going to give the final segment this evening and take final check-ins. So we'll talk about space launches for this week. We have May 14th. That would be, this was today. I don't know if it launched or not. SLC Starlink 4-15 from SLC 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force in Florida. Another batch of 53, well, we're back to saying how many, 53 Starlink Internet satellites. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. May 18th, Falcon 9 again, Starlink 4-18. This will launch from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. Another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. First stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Then we have on May 19th, Atlas 5 launch. You ready for this? SLC 41, Cape Canaveral Air Force, Space Force Station in Florida. United Launch Alliance's Atlas 5, designated AV-082, will launch Boeing's CST-100 Starliner spacecraft on a second unpiloted test flight to the International Space Station. This flight was added after Boeing's decision to refly Starliner's original orbital flight test before proceeding with crew flight tests. The rocket will fly in a vehicle configuration with two solid rocket boosters and a dual-engine Centaur upper stage. We also have, but it has not given a date, from SLC-2W from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. A Firefly Alpha rocket will launch its second test flight with a rideshare payload consisting of multiple unspecified small satellites. The SSLV from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, India. The SSLV will launch its first orbital test flight consisting of 3 solid-fueled stages and a liquid-fueled upper stage. The SSLV is a new Indian launch vehicle designated to carry small satellites into low Earth orbit. We also have, almost on May 15th, a Falcon 9 launch, this one from SLC 40 at Cape Canaveral and Space Force Station in Florida. We'll launch Transporter 5 mission, a rideshare flight to a sun-synchronous orbit with numerous small microsatellites and nanosatellites for commercial and government customers. It was moved to Cape Canaveral from Vandenberg Space Force Base. The Falcon 9 first stage will return to landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Then we've got two more left. In May 31st will be a capstone mission. This is Launch Complex 1B from Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. The Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch NASA's CIS Lunar Autonomous Positioning Satellite Technology Operations and Navigation Experiment, shortened to Capstone, mission to the moon. Capstone will fly to the moon on Rocket Lab's Photon Space Tug, entering a unique halo-like lunar orbit to test deep space navigation and communications in the same orbit to be used by NASA's Gateway Mini Space Station. This was moved from Complex 2 in Virginia to Launch Complex 1 in New Zealand. And then finally,
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow will be launched from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, India. The SSLV will launch on its first commercial mission with 4 Earth observation satellites for Black Sky Global, a Seattle-based company. The rideshare mission for Black Sky is being arranged by Spaceflight. This is delayed from late 2019 and early 2020. Those things are going to take a while for it to lift off. We have reached the end of the net. I will go ahead and ask for any final check-ins this evening. Anyone who would like to join us and be on the list, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. This is Last Call. All right, I did forget to mention KI5KTZ Philip. He's over on YouTube, and he is checked in. So I've got him, and with that, we're going to go ahead and close it out. Let me get to the end here. Tonight we had 29 hams participating on the air, including myself. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope to join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, it's actually a lot of fun. Contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5sc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net, astronomy in general, on Facebook and Twitter, as well as the audio-video stream, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5sc.org right now or at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, and I'll be closing the net at 22:31 local time and returning the repeater for normal amateur use for the next 5 minutes. Thank you all. Appreciate the participation and discussion this evening. We'll be back in 5 minutes, to discuss the movie Encounter from 2018. It's the one with the acorn in it, not the other one with the, never mind. It's the one with the acorn in it. We'll be back in 5. See you then. This is KE5, ICX, clear until then.
I won't be around, Tom. I was far too busy to see the movie this week. Just too much going on Fridays and Saturdays. Sometime I'll get back to watching the movies in the future if things slow down a little bit. See you later. K5ICX and 5BB clear. Good night. And don't forget about watching the Lunar Eclipse tomorrow night.
All right. See you then, Bill. Have sweet dreams. Be back in 5. KE5ICX clear.
KWG, pardon the ka-chunk. Just reconfiguring my radio.
Okay, we are back. Tonight's movie is called Encounter from 2018. Hopefully you watched the right one. I didn't realize until later this evening that there were actually two movies, both science fiction, that had the same name. And they sound similar, but not identical. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read you the very brief synopses and a little bit about the film, since the synopsis is so short, and then we'll take check-ins. This net is, as we kind of discussed the movie that we pre-assigned earlier in the week. I send out the movie choice a week ahead of time. If you would like additional information, all you have to do is go to Facebook, if you want to do that, and type in Afterglow Movie, that's two words, Afterglow and Movie, and then look under Files and you'll find the movie. Or if you look at the pinned topic, it'll have information about the movie as well as links to where you can see it. There were actually two links available, both free streaming, one on Peacock and the other one was on Pluto Television. So pick and choose whichever one you want to use or whichever one works. In my case, Peacock was the one that worked, and Pluto, which I usually use, did not. So we'll talk about the first round after check-ins. We'll talk about the plot, what you think about it. Was it any good? How did it work in comparison to other films? Maybe you saw the other Encounter film. I don't know. Maybe you can compare and contrast. I'm not sure. The second round, we'll talk about characterization. And this is a large cast, surprisingly, for such a small film. And then the third part is special effects, things that you saw. I think we'll have a few things to say about that in this particular film. In any case, that's what it is. You do not have to have seen the movie to check in. In fact, what we'll do is we'll challenge you and ask you, would you like to see this film? And does it remind you of any other films you may have seen? And would you go and watch it after hearing some of the comments made about the film? So you will be brought into the conversation. And actually, we've had a few occasions where that has been really interesting because people are talking about the film cold and ask very interesting questions that didn't occur to us at the time that we watched the film. But then we have to come clean and explain it. So here we go. So this is from Wikipedia, the source of all deep research. Encounter is an American science fiction film starring Luke Hemsworth, Anna Hutchinson, Tim Atkins, Glenn Keough, Vincent Ward, Cheryl Texiera, and Christopher Showerman. It was written and directed by Paul J. Salamoff. The synopsis, which is just two sentences, basically. A group of friends make a remarkable discovery in a rural field, a crashed spaceship. Then they discover that there was a survivor. They bring the otherworldly being back to their home, but they soon discover that it holds even greater secrets, maybe it was a circus, than they could imagine. But government agents start to show rising interest in the event. Time is running out to ascertain the aliens' true intentions. So the production is as follows. In April 2017, the filming began in and around the Augusta, Georgia area. Paul J. Salamoff, the director, chose to direct in Augusta as he had had a prior favorable opinion of the city, stating it was not only great tax incentives, but also had a great crew base. Landmarks in the film include the Payne College. Salamoff also stated that the world of Encounter is a nod back to classic science fiction movies of the 70s and 80s. Actor Luke Hemsworth was announced as the film's lead. Other actors that were brought in included Anna Hutchinson and Tim Atkins. Glenn Keough was brought on to replace another actor shortly after filming began due to issues with the actor's work visa. Encounter premiered on December 9, 2018 at the Otherworlds Austin Film Festival. This was followed by a release to video on demand on October 1st, 2019, which is how we saw it. It says Encounter received reviews from Flickering Myth and Film Threat, both of which heavily criticized the movie's plot, editing, and special effects. Film critic Jackie Cooper, not that Jackie Cooper, he's been dead for a couple of decades, was more favorable, writing that it looks like your run-of-the-mill sci-fi adventure, but it's not. Luke Hemsworth underplays his part and is that much more effective. Plus, the movie has just enough of a twist to keep you watching every scene for clues as to what is going on. Well, most movies that we watch for Afterglow, we search for clues as to what's going on, but this one in particular fits that bill. So I will now take check-ins. If you happen to see the film, that's fine. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see the film? If you didn't, go ahead and check in anyway. We'll accept you. Maybe the alien will like you too. Please come now.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda DeSoto. Yes, I saw the movie, and I don't want that alien to like me.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Junior
However, I have only seen up to a little bit past the final.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen the movie.
Kilo India Golf, Kilo Whiskey, Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf Cruise in Arlington, and I did see the film.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas, still in progress.
Okie dokie, the usual suspects have checked in. I got WB50ZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto, yep, she saw the movie. KG5BZWJ near Weatherford, he saw some of the movie. KB9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth, yep, he saw the movie. KI5KWG, Cruz in Arlington, yes, he saw the movie. NT5TM, Tony in Dallas, he's still watching the film, so he still doesn't know how it ends. We could give him major spoilers and just tell him over the radio, but we wouldn't do that, would we? It's a cookbook. Additional check-ins, please come now with your call sign, your name. Did you see tonight's movie Encounter from 2018? Please come now. Okie dokie. Well, we'll probably get some stragglers coming in a little bit later. So we'll go down the list. I'll start with Brenda, WB50ZL. Miss Brenda, what did you think about the plot to this film? Did you get it? Because I wasn't quite sure myself. But please go ahead, and I will take copious notes and crib off of you. Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
WB50ZL. Well, these are the dumbest people in the world. I guess we all daydream. What would we do if we made first contact? First of all, this thing comes and lands and it's hot. I would really be afraid to touch it. I wouldn't throw water on it. You don't know what that might do to it. And they should bring in some people with hazmat suits and treat it delicately. But no, they dragged it home. They kidnapped it. And, that Acorn wasn't much of a spaceship. The alien was just in there, and yet he underwent high temperatures. That just seems dangerous to me. Okay, so they do it. They're going to keep it until they figure it out. Yeah. Now, how's that going to work for you? So, then the FBI guys are saying, oh, there's another one, and they never explain to us what that means, if there's more than one, and if so, what happened to the others. It's just cryptic, and it's annoying to throw out hints like that. It's like somebody says, oh, I know a secret, but I'm not going to tell you. It's just annoying. Let's see, what else? Yeah, everybody in there was kind of dumb. And even the biology teacher, he just went on and, I'm going to touch it. Like, what's wrong with these people? I don't understand. Okay, I think I've bashed it long enough. I'll just be redundant at this point. Back to that WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. More? What happened to the other one? Well, something weird happened, and we don't know what. I don't know. When you do a teaser like that, you got to at least have closure, but what the heck. Okay, next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, what was your thought about the plot for Encounter from 2018? From KE5ICX.
Right, this is KG5BZW. Yeah, they even hinted at, well, you know, it could be radioactive or something, and then these people, they just have, well, no, it wasn't really the people, but it's just, apparently they addressed the issue, but they didn't address it. They just kind of blasted off and then proceeded. It's like, whatever. I was really kind of irritated with the movie since it began. Like the first scene where apparently the other one landed and the guy in the background says, "No, this pot chose me," and then, you know, right that was a little far too many firearm sounds. I just, the water on the thing, the taking it home, and proclaiming it has some sort of value when there's no physical reason to have that even idea. It just annoys the heck out of me. And I just decided I was annoyed. I am not going to watch the film at this point, which is kind of funny because some films, you know, they're stupid, but they're still kind of fun to watch. And this type of irritation, when I encounter it, I just can't watch it. So I'm more here for the net and see what everybody else has to say, and actually only for a bit because I may have to cut short. But anyway, that's my 2 cents here. KG5BCW.
All right, very good. Thank you, Jay. Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, what did you think of the plot for Encounter from 2018?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, I think this may actually be the worst plot we've seen this year. It was horrendous. There was at points I really considered shutting it off. It was so bad. It was just well, Brenda hit the nail on the head on this. Every character was just dumb. I mean, there's no common sense in any of these people. You know, they show they first crashed alien, and they had this huge team that recovered it. Yet on the second one, they sent the 2 dumbest FBI agents that they could find to send them. And really, just only 2 agents when the government knows this is an alien? That's the first major mistake. I mean, this is just, there's no way. At least in, you know, movies like E.T., they sent, you know, huge amounts of people to recover him. You know, there's just no way the government would send just 2 people. This was just ridiculous. And then, yeah, the guys that recovered it used no common sense at all whatsoever. And, you know, bring this thing back. I mean, really, did they really think they were going to figure it out? Then, yeah, the scientists that magically figured everything out by taking a couple blood tests. You know, the only part I get is, okay, I get that he took a chance of touching it because he had stage 4 cancer. So, yeah, okay, I can see him maybe throwing caution to the wind. But the rest of them? And then the part where, you know, I don't know why he thought he needed to bring it. Well, I know why they brought the girlfriend back, obviously, for the ending. But it's like he really thought that was going to go well. And 2, do people really just magically faint anymore? That seems like something from the 50 movies. So, yeah, I mean, there's just, wow, this was just a really, really rough plot all the way around. And actually, within probably 20 minutes of the movie, I had figured out that I figured he was going to bring the daughter back at the end or something like her. My initial thought was that, yeah, he was going to extract his DNA and bring him back an exact copy of her. But instead, I guess it was a copy of all of them. And then, yeah, just ended. I mean, really, the way they ended it was crazy, too, because what happened afterwards? Do they really think the government's not going to take the girl away and do studies on her? You know, so, yeah, I mean, there might have been a little bit of hope for this movie and the concept of an alien wanting to come down and learn from us in a different way and want to help us. That's not a bad concept, but
they definitely needed way better writers on this. And there's a couple of somewhat recognizable actors in this. But once again, if you don't have good material to work with, what do you do? So yeah, this thing was just full of holes, mostly just dumb people. Back to net, KB9 SOK.
Thank you, Sean, and hold that thought, because when we come back on the next round, you get to talk more about those dumb people. Next up is Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, what is your thought about the plot to Encounter, the 2018 one, from KE5I6?
Well, to begin with, I was pretty sure it was an armadillo, not a artichoke. But my characterization came down to being this was sort of an invasion of the body snatchers with benevolent aliens, sort of. My thoughts kind of went off on that area. We have movies with benevolent aliens, probably 2001. You assume some benevolence there, and you get that in the opening scene. Day the Earth stood still, kind of ironic. We're going to wipe out humanity because we think humanity might wipe out somebody someday, so we're the good guys. I never bought that line. But in this case, I think they wanted to do sort of an invasion of the body snatchers, but looking at it and saying, what if these were the good guys? And obviously, I think with the plot, they really were, or it really was, then again, sort of, giving hope to these traumatized people. Each one had some trauma that we weren't given much information on, but each one felt better and potential of healing with the man being able to stand while connected. So I kind of went along with what they were getting at. But again, in my pseudo-benevolent alien thoughts on this is you have that last line where I am all of you, please don't leave me, which again, there was that hopeful message that they were trying to give, the daughter being resurrected in a sort of way. But the thought that ran through my mind is resistance is futile. They were being assimilated. So, but again, I thought it was an interesting sort of fresh perspective on the alien concept. So I'll let it go with that on the plot. Oh, I do want to ask one question of y'all. I like a story that opens with an exciting scene that sets up the mystery. So you don't know what's happened before, you don't know what's going on or even who's who, but you've got all this excitement in the opening, and it sort of like begins the story in the middle. And I think there's a name for that, but I couldn't remember what it is. So if anybody knows, throw that out. And that's all for me on this one. I'm KI5KWG. Back to you, Ned.
Yeah, thank you, Cruz. And now you're going to make me think about it. I'll probably Google it when nobody is looking to find out what that is. You're right, and it's a common ploy. It's actually used quite a bit in television when your hero characters are in some sort of a situation they cannot get out of. And let's not forget, of course, it was always used in the James Bond movies, because it was the end of some mission that James Bond was on, and he was in some weird situation, and we had to kind of figure it out. Of course, he makes his escape and goes on to his next mission, which I always thought was rather clever, and has continued with those movies ever since. All right, next is Tony. Tony, your thoughts? Hopefully you watched the right one, or you're watching the right one. It's the one with the walnut or something in it, or the armadillo, not the one with the military vehicles. That's the wrong movie. NT5TM. Tony, you ready to tell us what you thought about the plot? And did you see the ending yet? From KE5ICX.
Oh boy, that's all I got. It swelled up and looked like a ringed octopus, and I don't trust that girl is a real little girl.
because I don't trust that all these people were right to let the alien space tentacles grab them. I mean, I'm deeply suspicious of people who look at an alien space tentacle and say, you know, I'd like that to bite me on the back of the neck. You know, yeah, the back of the neck, that's a good spot. I like that. Yeah, let the alien bite me there. These characters, well, I guess I'll talk about them in more detail later. Probably not, because I can't remember the details. Seem to have less intelligence than people in an episode of Scooby-Doo. They all were just unremarkable people who kind of hugged one another. Yeah, that's good, much better than hitting one another. And just like, oh, look, an alien space pod. It gets big rings on it like a ringed octopus. I should let it touch me. Yeah, why? And the space pod gets bigger and bigger, and then it eats the professor. Oh, I guess, you know, Gilligan was a better character than the professor, so I'm glad it didn't eat Gilligan. But, and then it chooses one imaginary or real character to bring back from the dead, just to kind of let it swell up more and gather more food and buy it more time to possess us all. I think everyone was dim. Yes, I got to agree, those were two pretty unbelievable FBI agents, especially the pudgy white dude. Yeah, not so good. And I guess I've never seen a space tentacle I didn't fear, but they come from a different planet than I do, where pointy alien space tentacles are good. NT5TM.
Okay, thank you, Tony. You made some very good points, and I will bring those up because now I'm going to crib off of that as well. Let me ask, let's see before I give my comments, any additional check-ins? Anybody like to join us? Tonight's movie is called Encounter from 2018. That's the one you want with giant acorn or pineapple or alien or whatever the heck you want to call it. It was in there. Anybody else want to join us? Please come now with your call sign, your name. Did you see Encounter from 2018? And even if you didn't, that's okay. You can still check in. Please come now. Some people will show up late in the game. I know they will. All right, my thoughts on the movie. I agree with everyone. Yes, it was stupid people doing stupid things. That's what you would expect. The writing lacked... the pacing was very, very slow, I thought, and the characters were excruciatingly boring, which is unfortunate. I thought that the one fellow, I can't think of his name, the religious dude, he was in it. I was thinking that maybe somehow or another he would bring up the connection. There was a little bit of a sort of religious thing that might have gone into it. You know, what if the alien is God, essentially? You know, and that was sort of a throwaway line. And I thought, you know, you could really do something with that. It would be controversial, but why not? It's a science fiction film, and none of it's real. You could make a case for that, and that might also explain, you know, to be redeemed, you end up being tentacleized, and how ridiculous that may seem. Another part of it would be that people be mesmerized by that possibility. What about if somebody could, you know, suddenly they are feeling good and great because maybe this is sent from God, maybe it is God, I don't know. I mean, I'm doing this as a theoretical simply because there was no plot. There was nothing that really would hold those people to what they were looking at. There was no reason, with the exception of what was the character's name? The main character, Luke Hemsworth character. I can't think of his name right now. You know, he had one thing that allowed him to walk, but only when the tentacle thing was on him, and then he seemed comfortable with that. But the rest of the characters say, no, I don't want to do that. No, that's a bad idea. And then they do it. What the hell's wrong with these people? I just don't get that. Another thing is that they go and they get the doctor. You always go and get the doctor from the college or the high school or something. You don't get somebody who's a professional that would handle this, you know, complete with hazmat suit and helicopters and, you know, vans with tinted windows and all that. We always go and get somebody else. Why is it so important that they find out what it is first? Haven't they ever watched other bad science fiction films and realized that things end poorly? That when you have something that's kind of like walnut shaped like that, a lot of times something pops out and hits you in the face and takes you over. I mean, that happens in virtually everything. So it seems to me, I'm just confused by that. Now, let me make a comment, a side comment I just thought of. In the world of science fiction movies like this, it is obvious that people who are in them, the characters that are in them, have never seen a single science fiction movie. That's nearly always the case. And when they do acknowledge it and actually name a headliner movie, they just go ahead and do whatever dumb thing they did in the headliner movie themselves, thinking they're going to get a different outcome. But we know that never happens. So why is it that way? And why is the government so stupid? Why is the FBI doing this? Why isn't NASA doing it? Why isn't it, I don't know, some secret agency that we don't know about? I don't know, Uncle. Maybe they do that, aliens. Or, you know, Admiral Nelson used to pick up aliens with the sea view from time to time. But he's much more qualified than these people. Heck, one of the guys lived in a garage. Come on. And wouldn't you think the professor, you know, along with Mary Ann, that when he came over, that he would say, you know what, this is bigger than all of us. I'm going to call the cops. I'm going to call my colleague at NASA. They always have a colleague at NASA. And tell him that you need to come out here immediately and find out what this is. And then when he did call him, he'd get a note that says, don't touch it. It's too late. It's already got me by the neck with its tentacle. You dummy, I told you a long time ago, never do that. You remember when we were sitting in the bar talking about that? You don't touch alien creatures. And then he'd say, but of course that's all classified and it never really happened. But at any rate, I could see the ethical part could have been much more interesting. The godlike part could have been interesting. The how much are they under the influence could have been played up a little bit more. We could have had people that react differently to being touched. They wouldn't all have the same sort of reaction and what it means, instead of bickering about the whole thing. That was another thing that just drove me crazy, is they're bickering about it. Well, I don't want to do that, but I'll be back. Why? Why don't you just pick up the phone, dial 911, or I think it's 811 for alien invasions, and just have somebody come out and take care of the creatures. Put them in, I don't know, one of those recycling bins and take them out. Put them out by the curb or put them in their dark van. Something like that. It just was missing that. I don't understand. Oh, well. And I'll talk about Luke Hemsworth in the next round. Okay. Anyone else want to check in before we go to the top of the list and we discuss characterization? And the actors, for that matter. Anyone else want to check in? Please come with your call sign, your name. Did you see Encounter from 2018? Please come out. They're all hiding out there. Okay, next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Your thoughts on characterization, Brenda, from KE5ICX.
This is WB50ZL. Well, yeah, they did an excellent job of characterizing people stupidly. Frick and Frack, the FBI agents, were just perfect as fumbling FBI agents. And why were there just two of them? Wouldn't a mission like this bring out a bunch of agents, a bunch of law enforcement, scientists, everybody in the world? All the other alien movies we've seen, they send everybody out, tanks and jeeps and everything, and all the big guns. But you got these two fumblers skulking around in the dark. And the main characters were, most of them were pretty uninteresting. The professor is probably the most interesting, but then he just comes in and touches it. It's like, you know, you may have just contaminated everybody and yourself and the world and everything. You need to be cautious about this. If you have any scientific inkling at all, you would know that. Luke Hemsworth, the main character, whose name I forget, he's one of the Hemsworth brothers. The others are Luke and I understand his name is Liam and Chris Hemsworth. And one of them plays Thor. And is, you know, you kind of think, this guy is not near the rank of his brothers. Maybe, you know, they got him cheap. I don't know. I think he's an okay actor, and he's got a pretty big filmography, but he's not just a really big name like his brothers are. So, I think if this were told from the alien standpoint, what was he doing? What was his mission? He's totally not ambulatory. They can just pick him up and carry him around, and he can do nothing about it except put his little paw on him. You know, he crash lands into a field. It's just kind of a miracle that anybody discovered him. He could have just laid there in the field for thousands of years. And how would he ever get up and move around? Or would he ever communicate with his buddies back on Mars? So, we don't know what he wanted, why he was here, what he was doing. He must have had a mission. He came and landed here. And then these redneck yahoos just pick him up, carry him, put him in a dark garage. And he can't communicate with anybody. It's just... it's a real study in frustration. It makes you feel like a Kafka story. You know, just nothing but solid frustration. Let's see, what else? I don't know what happened to the professor. What I expected is that he was going to cure him of cancer and kick him out, and he'd go on and live a long, happy life. But no, he just ate him. And I don't know how the alien managed to metabolize and grow without food, but he kept growing and growing and growing. And for what? He's not getting back in that little pineapple spaceship again. He's pretty well committed to being here on the outside. And the girl, bringing the girl back to life, that's a really dangerous idea. You know, because she's not her. And the paperwork is going to be very awkward. And, you know, what is she going to be like? You know, I mean, it's not really her. It's a clone or something. And her saying, well, I'm part of all of you. That just makes no sense whatsoever. And how would she know that? It's just dumb. And the other characters, you know, the sister... She was just a frightened mouse all the time, and there was too much bickering. I want to know if that cat ever got fed. I never saw it, didn't see that happen, so I worry about the cat. But these characters just argued all the time, especially the FBI guys, and that part I didn't like. I would rather have had a little more thoughtful story than just have them bicker all the time. All right, I'm going to send it back. WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, your thoughts on characterization, or if you want to do the actors, or both, go right ahead from KE5I6.
KE5BZW here. I really don't have much to say, because you kind of need to know a little bit more about what actually happened to come on the characters. I've already kind of commented on the characters. I mean, I know we're. I don't know how much they stuck to the stereotype. It seems like it kind of seems like they stuck to a stereotype, but people know things. Surely, I mean, heck, when I used to trade in, when we used to have I had nearby a metal recycler. They had a guy with a Geiger counter just because, of certain incidents that have happened in the past that, iron got, some stuff got mixed in the iron or whatever. I can't remember the exact incident. There's one, I remember one instance in, I want to say Brazil, where somebody found I don't know, there's been a couple of things. There's a really sad story that's completely off topic that you can find some. It's interesting, but it's also very sad because, people didn't know what was going on. And they basically took home stuff that wasn't even a alien artifact. It just, it was glowy powder, basically, and it ended up killing a lot of people. But, just kind of sad. But I actually meant to look that up before this net, but I wasn't even sure what I was going to refer to it. Because I wasn't really, it's like I didn't really know what to say or whatever. I'm still rambling on. But that's normal. Pretty sure I got my point across. But just because you're a hick doesn't mean you don't know a few things. And these guys just were absolute. They just did not know. They were dumb. That's all I can say. And when you got characters that dumb, I don't really care to watch them. That's all. KG5BZW.
Thank you, Jay. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on characterization or the acting, that sort of thing. Go ahead, from KE5I6.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, these characters, starting with 1 through 20, were just all dumb. It was just sad because, I agree. There was, they could have taken it some different places. But the banter back and forth was just constant arguing, and I found it annoying as well. And I'm thinking, there's no way these people would be best friends, because it's, they just constantly bickered. And once again, we had no backstory of why they were friends. Were these guys in the Army? Were they best friends growing up, or why are they so closely knit when they're obviously not? And it just made no sense at all. And there's no intelligent banter of any kind. As you brought up, that maybe they could have done some with the religious part. They kind of started down that road, and you know, and the guy wasn't questioning the other guy's religious at all, or, you know, at all. So why he took such offense to him just insinuating that this could be a higher power, I don't know, you know. Yeah, I agree. They could have took that opportunity to have a real, true, intelligent conversation. I can't think of the name of the movie we watched last year that, whenever they had the guy that everybody thought maybe was God, and they, you know, at least they had some intelligent banter. You know, it made it at least interesting. So here it didn't. Yeah, I mean, these people were just, you know, they started to act like they were going down a road. They're trying to maybe explain some stuff. You know, they, you know, obviously talked about the girl. You know, why were they all so tied to that girl? You know, other than it was just one guy's daughter. You know, and then he was blaming himself, but yet it looked like somehow or another it's an accident. You know, insinuated in a parking lot, and you know, it's like, how did somebody hit him in a parking lot? So it was just weird. Just like they didn't put any real thought into the plot. So yeah, you know, the main character, I kind of get that he started out, and the thing actually, you know, more or less attacked him. He didn't ask for it to. So I could see him being taken over by this thing. But, you know, yeah, why did the rest so willingly touch it? You know, yeah, he kept saying there's nothing to worry about. But, yeah, I mean, obviously. Have these people ever seen any Japanese science fiction? You know what happens with tentacles. You know, why would, yeah, it's just bizarre. And then they kind of almost acted like, maybe it was just me who was thinking this, but they kind of insinuated that maybe the sister was in a borderline abusive relationship because she was just so scared of her husband. But yet in the end, it acted like they weren't, you know. So it just never was a real clear sight for each character where they were going and what was their journey. So it was just, yeah, just really bad writing. The acting was just, wasn't all that great. I mean, I don't think they had a lot to work with, but as you know, these were all, I would say, probably B actors. I mean, I've seen the science guy from the college. He's been in some stuff I've seen. I can't place it, but I did recognize him. And I don't really remember how he did in those films. But yeah, no, there's really no character that really stood out for me that I'd say, yeah, this was you know, they did a good job on that particular character. I agree, maybe the cat was the best one. The FBI agents, yeah, there's no way they would let two idiots like that take on something that big. I mean, both of them were just ridiculous. I don't know if they meant this to be like a comedy relief to break up the seriousness. But these people definitely weren't no Scully and Mullen, you know, from X-Files, were they? So, yeah, it's just bad all around. Back to net, KB9, that's okay.
All right, thank you, Sean. And yeah, we're all kind of scratching our heads over this whole thing. Next up is Cruz, KF5KWG. Now, Cruz can figure this stuff out, and he'll fully explain the motivations of all the characters and why we aren't buying into them like we should. Cruz, we need answers, quick, from KE5ICX.
You had to tease. Well, KI5KWG. Really all I had to say on the actors, but I will go back to the tease in a moment, was the trope of the FBI agents being the bumbling sort and, you know, basically start with hostility and then goof everything up. But I mentioned about the characters and what had me paying attention and getting into was that they all had some trauma, some obvious loss of a daughter, loss of the ability to stand, loss of love, broken hearts. So didn't know everybody's story, but you got a hint for it all. And I think that was kind of what was the cohesion between the characters, is all of them had undergone traumas apparently while part of that group, and so that sort of bonded them. And at the same time, so here's the motivation that you were teasing about, at the same time, you've got all these traumatized people who are bonded in part because of their individual traumas. They're all looking for hope. And I think that's what the alien, as I pointed out in the first part on the plot, I think that was the plot, is people in search of hope and finding it. I think that's what that was really about. So, well, that's all I have to say about that. KI5KWG, back to you, Ned.
All right, Cruz. Well, I was giving you a hard time, but you actually gave a motivation for the alien, although we don't know how the heck he got there to be motivated, but he sensed something. All right, next up is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, you've finished the film now. It makes sense to you. Explain it to us from KE5ICX.
You know, whenever I completely trash a movie, I always want to suggest a better alternative. And in this case, the better alternative is a Philip K. Dick short story, Rautavaara's Case. Rautavaara, Case, Rautavaara's Case. It has appeared in several science fiction anthologies, several of which Aaron and I happen to have in the house. If you don't have one, I can try to help you fix that problem. Rautavaara's Case is a science fiction story in which a person dies and their brain is put in life support after their horrible injury, but the life support is provided by aliens. And so very strange things happen to the human on life support. It's really kind of weird, and you should never read Philip K. Dick stories right before going to bed. That's a very important piece of safety advice I can share right here on the Afterglow Movie Net. And Aaron just chastised me justly by saying I didn't believe her about that, and then I learned, and that's true. I did learn the hard way with an almost sleepless night, so yeah, be careful about reading Philip K. Dick stories right before bed. His language is usually awkward, but his ideas can be absolutely chilling. But apparently I'm supposed to talk about this movie in which the giant swelling ringed octopus pod eats people, and sometimes the people are glad to be eaten by the pod. And I really got to agree with Brenda that I could never possibly believe that the strange girl who came out of the pod was a girl. Yeah, she's an alien, and sooner or later she's going to open her mouth or something, and a big tentacle's going to come out and steal my soul or possess me. So yeah, Brenda was completely right. I would never trust that creature in any way. So as far as characters, I cannot pick out any really particular characters except perhaps the pudgy male FBI agent who seemed completely incompetent. Mainly the characters just reminded me of the old animated Scooby-Doo cartoons. I imagined that something bad happened, and then all the characters were hugging one another with the Foley artist providing a tooth-chattering noise. We're so scared. But then they would go on to the next scene. The characters were bad and unremarkable, and no, that wasn't a girl. She's a ring-necked space octopus. Dear her. NT5TM.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Tony. And, you know, when you talk about Philip K. Dick, I can't say that I'm an authority, although I do like his many stories that he's written through the years. But I do have one that's a sort of an autobiography. It's actually a collection of all his works. And I can't think of the name of it right now. It's very long. It's several thousand pages long. And it has a lot of correspondence back and forth with writers. He's nuts. Well, he was nuts. He's not with us anymore, at least not as a human. And so his he believed in reincarnation or time travel or something like that, and he really believed that it happened. So he had potentially a mental illness. But guys like that, anyone like that, usually are very imaginative because they're nuts. So I'll have to find that book, and I'll mention it on another net. And I've not gotten through it. I think I got about 300 pages in, and I quit. But it is quite interesting, and if you'd like to borrow it, you're more than welcome to. I think you'll find it quite fascinating, and you'll probably finish it, opposed to me, who did not. Okay, anyone else want to check in? Please come now with your call sign. We're talking about Encounter from 2018. If you'd like to join us, please come now. I thought Ron and 5SQA would show up. He sometimes comes in the final round, so he has one shot at it. So he may show up at the very end. Okay, my thoughts on characterization and the acting and all that. Well, first off, I thought that the acting was terrible, with the exception of Tom Atkins. Professor Westlake, I thought he did a really reasonable job with a terrible script. And of course Luke Hemsworth is Thor, I guess, and he's played in a bunch of stuff. Why he appeared in this, I'm not sure. I think the director must have had something on him, extortion or something, and managed to get him to star in this movie. He's reasonably good in this, but again, this is the two of them are stuck with really terrible script that leaves them somewhat illogical as characters in this thing. Everyone's busy, as everybody had said, arguing about petty stuff and saying they can't do this, and then they go and do it anyway, and how they can't understand, and then they do understand. It's just kind of ridiculous when it's all said and done. And our bumbling FBI agents, I agree with that. I kept waiting for the one guy to say, oh, and one more thing, just to make me feel like he might not have been as bumbling as he appeared. The two characters that are talked about the least are the most puzzling, and we never learn anything about them. One is the tentacled alien. Why is he or she there? What is their purpose on Earth other than to, sully some sort of relationship with the actors in this, or the other characters, who are, I guess, random, but somehow or another she, it decides to help. That makes no sense to me. What does the alien really mean? I mean, they could have had the end with a question mark, and everybody, is under its control or something. But no. No body snatchers in that one. And then the other character is the so-called daughter, or the composite of got all the DNA of everybody in the movie. Yay. That's wonderful. And she's going to take care of her, and we're afraid. And what does that mean? I have no idea. But she... And how are they going to explain her? Oh, she just showed up, she disappeared, she drowned, and then she came back to life? Who's going to explain? Oh, well, tell the FBI agents. They'll figure it out because they... Oh, okay, I'll put it in the report. Everything will be fine. And then, of course, what happens to all these people? They had their DNA, they've touched the tentacled creature, which is really kind of creepy in and of itself. You don't think they're going to take them to a lab and never let them go? Put them in some sort of quarantine and say, well, this is nice, welcome to the human zoo? That's what's going to happen, unless the FBI guys write the report, in which case then they hire them to join the FBI because they're smarter than the FBI agents. It made no sense to me. It's just kind of crazy. What is the point? And somebody also mentioned eating the professor. Yeah. how does that thing grow? Eating the Professor was the only time where it made any sense that it could grow, and none of the other people had that happen to them. So, maybe they were eating a little bit, but a little snack with their little tentacles when they touched everybody, and maybe that's why the alien wanted to touch them. I don't know. I'm a little hungry. You don't mind if I take a little bit out of your neck, do you? Everything's fine, I don't know. Just weird. I think that's everything from my notes that I took along the way. All right, let's see, 11:35. We'll probably end early. So we'll go to the top of the list again, and this time we'll talk about special effects. This may not go very long, but anybody have anything to say? Now, special effects, or how the movie was made, you can also include sound. You can talk about the picture quality. You can talk about the alien and how it was constructed. Those things can be added into this as well, because certainly this sort of thing is important in any film, and since this one's one of those bargain basement films made in Augusta, Georgia, of all places, because they got good tax incentives, it might tell you something there. All right, we'll start at the top of the list. WB50ZL. Brenda, your thoughts on special effects and that sort of thing from the film. Or if you've got any this will probably be final call anyway, anything you've got to say about the film that you've not covered so far. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
This is WB50ZL. Oh, special effects. It was just the alien was all there was, and I don't know what he was made of, Play-Doh or something. He was ugly. I do want to know who is going to clean up that mess, the alien body. I think the FBI people, when they do their report, they're going to have to call somebody. Somebody else is going to come, and they're going to get a front loader and haul this thing off to the university or the hospital and dissect it and tear it apart and see what it's made of and try and figure it out. It wasn't even clear to me why the FBI agents killed it. Why was that even necessary? And what's going to happen when its family comes looking for it, because he's overdue, and they're going to come and they discover that the FBI bunglers have murdered their sibling? That's not going to go well. I think the thing that frustrates me the most is that nobody did the smart thing anywhere along the way. Everybody did the stupid thing. And it's like watching one of these horror movies where the teenagers are always going outside in the dark or looking under the bed or going to the basement. You just want to yell at the screen, no, don't do it. And I felt that way about this. It's like, don't leave me here alone with this thing. And, no, I'm not going to touch it. I don't know what's going to happen if I touch it. Just so much just never, ever explained. It was very unsatisfying. All right, back to net, WB50ZL.
Okay, so that's a thumbs up. You like the film. Next up is KG5BZWJ. Your thoughts on anything you want about the film, technical or otherwise, from KE5ICX.
KE5BZW. Yeah, that's Brenda put out an interesting point there, which makes me just, not that I would really want to watch the film again, but it does, sounds a little bit like they were wanting to go for a horror film, and it just didn't really have the right budget or whatever for it, so they just, we'll just slap together a sci-fi thing or something and do that, because, I mean, isn't that the key? I mean, not that I've seen too many horror films, but, well, I don't know, Shaun of the Dead doesn't really count, does it? I guess it is a horror film, but it's a little bit different. Yeah, a lot of times in horror, there does seem to be a element of, don't do that because that's really dumb. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe if you look at it as a failed horror attempt, maybe it's somewhat better. I don't know. If I thought about it that way, I might have actually been able to watch the whole thing instead of the first 15 minutes. Anyway, that's all I got. KQ5BGW.
All right, Jay, thank you. KB9K, Sean, your final comments or special effects or anything you want. Go ahead from KE5ICS.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, it's, I would not encourage them to make a sequel. I'm gathering this was a pretty low-budget film. I think that was pretty obvious from just the special effects. The sound was okay. I don't think there was anything for music that I remember. As far as how it was filmed, it was just, it looked very almost borderline amateurless, amateur. Because it seemed like they only had a single camera, it was only taking one view, and just the way it was viewed almost seems like somebody was using their Sony camcorder to film this thing, but so it wasn't very good there. A lot of really dark scenes. Once again, that's done in a lot of cheap movies, so they don't have to spend any money to have things around it. The alien was pretty poor. Most of the time it looked very rubbery. It didn't look like skin at all or some kind of shell. It reminds me very much of some of the creatures we would see in the early Star Trek TV series, and where you could clearly see it was just a rubber suit of some type. And the same way with the classic, maybe 60s and 70s Doctor Who creatures. It just very, very basic. Not a lot of imaginarity there. And once again, I'm guessing they didn't have much of a budget for this thing. As far as final thoughts, I pretty much agree with what everybody said. I don't. There's not a whole lot I can really add about this film that's any kind of real insight. Just warn your friends not to watch this one. Back to net, KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. There's only one other film where they eat that I remember. They eat cast members was in The Creeping Terror, which you had, fortunately for you, you had not come on board for these movies yet. I consider The Creeping Terror from 1954, I think it is, the worst movie ever made. It makes Plan 9 from Outer Space look like a masterpiece. So if you feel like you need to be depressed or want to hurt yourself, watch this film, and you'll find out just how bad movies can be. Called The Creeping Terror from the 1950s, I think 54. Next up is Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, your thoughts on special effects or anything you want to bring that has not been discussed that you would like to bring up again from KE5ICX. Go ahead.
KI5KWG. The Horta. Sean, yes. The Star Trek silicon-based life form. I was looking it up. Devil in the Dark was the episode. I think it was 1968. And this creature was basically the same special effects technology is used in that probably 1968, so right at 50 years before. episode. Yes, I agree. That's what it reminded me of. In the other category, in the opening scene when you saw the plowed, well, not just plowed field, but the deep gouge in the field caused by the alien crashing or landing or whatever it was, just as we saw in War of the Worlds and in Men in Black. And that thought triggered in my mind at that point is we're going to have somebody wearing an Edgar suit. And then here we come to the end after it's eaten the professor, and out comes the alien wearing a Shannon, I think was the daughter's name, a Shannon suit. So that was just amused me. Just the way my mind works, I suppose. That's all I think I have on this movie. I don't know that I hated it as much as you all did, but I actually agreed with everything everybody said. And this is KI5, KWG, back to you, Ned.
Thank you, Cruz. You're always the eternal optimist on these turkeys. It's always refreshing to hear you do that. And then I wonder, what does he do during the movie? Does he? Never mind. I just assume you got happy juice somewhere that makes that work. All right. Next is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, your comments, anything you want. Let loose, my friend, from KE5ICX.
Well, if Cruz is the optimist, I am the Grinch. I long to go to the Christmas feast, but no, not tonight. Erin has been refreshing her memory of Philip K. Dick stories, and she was just reviewing in the days of Perky Pat. The Days of Perky Pat, a Philip K. Dick story, and he is eerie and scary and far more interesting than this movie. But as for me, I have nothing to add. I just want to thank everyone for participating, and Tom, thank you for staying up late and being that control. I know it's hard to stay coherent this late. I'm kind of struggling myself. This movie didn't help. But I'm glad you're all my friends. NP5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. Does anybody else want to check in before we close this out? I've got a couple of comments in the next movie, but if anybody else would like to check in, now's the time. Please come with your call sign. All right, hearing none. I don't think I can add anything more to the film. I thought overall, the special effects, of course, the alien was just ridiculously bad. Looked like one of those blow-up things. It looked like it came from Dark Star. If you ever saw Dark Star, which actually inspired Alien of all things. But yeah, it's basically the same creature. It's really terrible, and that was a comedy. So had some real problems with that. But what can you say? The sound was good, I thought. It looks as though the sets themselves were actual structures. I don't know about the garage. I think the garage might have been a set because they spent so much time in there. But the other scenes, both at the university, of course, and then in the home, was an actual home. And I suspect that they used that for cost savings. But I think the garage itself, I looked at the floor and I thought, that's too clean for a garage. So I think they just reproduced it, put a garage door in there, and then just decorated it with other stuff. So I think that was the set. That's about all I can say about it. Some of the scenes in that they did with the military folks in that looked okay. Obviously, they brought some extras in. They looked like it. So it seemed like it was promising. It was teetering on a little bit unstable, I thought, as it started out. But it seemed like it showed promise. Music itself, there really wasn't much music. There was a little bit. Started out like a full orchestra, but it was keyboard, electronic keyboards, and that was obvious with some of the music that came up later on. So not as creative as it could have been. I've heard some really good films, even some of these that are bad films that have a really good score. I mean, you've got a composer that really knows how to handle a keyboard, electronic keyboard, and they can really embellish a narrative even when the film itself doesn't have a lot of money. I'm still a firm believer, as you all know, because I love film music. I think it's an integral part to a film. It has to be used in an appropriate way, in an effective way, and that is as difficult to do as it is to create, say, a science fiction film. To do it well and do it right is really tough. Okay, here's what we're going to do for next week. I may do a program change. I have listed the movie Armageddon from 1998. I think that's the film that's on tap, and we may watch that. However, I'd like to interject the possibility of, I just realized this, and I think I'm going to have to double check it. I don't know how long it'll last, but Paramount Plus is offering up Star Trek Strange New Worlds Episode 1, which is the prequel series to the original Star Trek series, with Captain Pike as the captain of the USS Enterprise. That appears to be available for free, and you can go and see it. I don't think you have to log in or sign in or any of that stuff. So we'll do that for next week. I will send out the email information, and I will update the Afterglow Movie Facebook page to include that. If it works out okay, if there's some caveat where you have to give them credit cards or something silly like that, no, we won't do it. We'll stick with Armageddon. So check your inbox tomorrow morning just to make sure which one we're watching, and we'll see you here next week. I want to say 7-3 to everybody. Thanks for your input. I thought it was fantastic, even though the movie was not. See you all next week. This is KE5ICX. I'll be clear. And I'll talk if anybody's got any comments at the end. See ya. This is KE5ICX.